political and security values for Taiwan, for the Republic of China. Then we focus on the domestic political factor, which I think that's what Larry really want me to make some reflection. Despite what appears to be the great benefit enjoying participating in the next round of TPP negotiation, obviously will encounter very serious obstacles. Taiwan's democratic process permits various NGOs to air their opposing views and to express their different interests openly and freely. Moreover, the institutional structure, such as the legislature, the mass media, and both the central and local government administrations, all of them play important role in the course of policy formulation with regard to trade issue, and in this case, the TPP issue. Preparation and actual negotiation to join, if or once invited, I believe that, as Professor Guan said, it will be a multi-year exercise. The future outlooks will be further complicated by the outcome of the United States presidential election and the congressional action following the elections of the entire House of Representatives and 1/3 of the Senate in November. Not to mention the evolving uncertainties of the China factor in view of the change of regime of administration in Taiwan. We have to wait until after May 20th, and I was hoping that you postpone this meeting now until after that, but anyway, you know I'm going to be here, so you have a meeting here right now, right? So anyway, this is something that we have to keep in mind, the China issue. The other participants also talked about. I recall 3 years ago in 2013, the meeting held here. At that time, there were two Taiwan scholars, both of them political scientists, I recall, who are not here today, writing on Taiwan's domestic trade politics. They brought out several important points with respect to the issues of TPP participation, and I would address to them, and hopefully somewhat bring up to date in terms of what happened since then, since 3 years ago. Let me briefly summarize the 6 main points presented at that time by the two respectable political scientists in Taiwan. Number one, according to them, ROC government is unable to foster a cohesive pro-trade political coalition. Too many single-issue interest groups hold strong and uncompromising positions on such matters as food safety, environmental impact, and labor employment, for instances. The absence of, following that, they also point out that there is an absence of strong executive leadership at that time in the government and also in the ruling party. The administrations, the national administration's decision-making mechanism was fragmented, hence constrained the government's ability to propel free trade legislation through the legislature. Number 3, they pointed out, the potential beneficiaries that is basically the business elite, often prefer, I call a free rider position, free rider, quote unquote, position. That is to enjoy the benefit without doing anything. And willing to actively engage in public outreach efforts to support free trade. Number 4, the previously somewhat disastrous handling of the U.S. beef import issue may impact on future U.S. policy toward Taiwan participation in TPP negotiations, especially in respect to the import of U.S. pork that may threaten the vested interests of pork farmers concentrating geographically in central and southern Taiwan's rural areas and small towns. In Taiwan's election politics, what it means is that these areas are the strongholds of the Democratic Progressive Party. Now in power. Okay. Number 5, I wouldn't. Well, I probably would not use the same term, but anyway, one scholar called it yellow journalism in Taiwan. The journalistic community often gives platform to expert policy recommendations unfavorable to free trade legislation, such as beef import, China trade agreement, and so on and so forth. The following point they point out is what they call it the serious institutional deficit. The government structure itself is problematic for free trade negotiation. Particularly, they pointed out that free trade negotiation, including TPP issue, they tend to be handled at the level of the Ministry of Economic Affairs, which has a Board of International Trade and Office of Trade Negotiations. They argue that instead, the major trade issue probably should be executed by stronger and higher level interministerial coordination agency above a single minister level. The second point they pointed out in this regard is that in the legislature, frequently the deadlock bills are referred to the party caucus negotiating committee, which make decisions on consensus basis, allowing any political party, even the smallest political party, to veto any important bill. In a legislative floor, when a controversial bill is at issue, members could filibuster by taking over the presiding chairman's podium to disrupt the ongoing debate over important issues, including the trade issue. These are some of the points they outline. Larry, if I'm mistaken, please correct me.
Excellent summary.
Now, let me now report to the progress and new initiative since 3 years ago, the conference at Stanford. I will divide it mainly between two main parts and with another third comment. Number 1 is what has been done by President Ma's associate administration since 2013, since 3 years ago. let me outline the key point. I think Professor Guan probably was involved in most of this, but I will just, for the time reason, I will not go into the detail. Number one, last year, 2015, the Executive Yuan, which is cabinet, for many of you who may not be familiar with Taiwan's organization structure of the government, the Executive Yuan formulated an overall action plan to join the TPP. That is to raise the level to one step higher than the ministerial level to formulate the plan. Secondly, the government adopted a free trade complementary bill which went through the legislative process in December last year, while the KMT was still in control of the national legislature before recent election. Number three, still under the Ma administration, the Ministry of Economic Affairs established a special office for the TPP public communication, quote unquote. That is also to engage in public dialogue. Okay. They decide to take it more systematically and more seriously. On January 27, this year, this new office held a grand opening event, which was attended by the current 12 TPP signatory members, their representatives in Taiwan were invited to participate, as well as many important persons from the industrial, commercial, agricultural, and labor organizations. This new office lays out plans to engage in more extensive media campaign and to communicate with the general public and NGOs in initial preparation for joint TPP negotiations in the future. Number 3 or number 4? Anyway, number 4. It signed earlier, already mentioned, but I will spell out anyway. Since last meeting we had here, the Republic of China, Taiwan, has signed economic cooperation agreement with New Zealand, economic partnership with Singapore, and taxation agreement with Japan. These are demonstrations of certain improvement in the directions of bilateral trade relationship with certain countries. I recognize that two of these are not terribly important insofar as Taiwan really want to work together as concerned. Let me also briefly mention what has been done in addition to TPP. Let me say that the National Council or National Federations of Industry also took steps to form, I quote, joint TPP promotion strategy team, okay, to help the government to gather information from the industries and to promote public support. This, I recognize, is a major positive step in light of what previous scholars comment that the business elite tend to be the free riders. So in recent months, this council has organized at least 13 public meetings with regard to the TPP issue, engage in education and dialogue with the general public concerned. Now let me turn to the last point, the Democratic Progressive Party. As we know,